Hey guys, and welcome back to part 2 of the Houghton Mansion case. Before we dive into the rest of it, I wanted to set the stage for what you're about to hear. I recently had the chance to link up with Dave Wilkins of Hometown Ghost Stories, someone who knows the paranormal world as much as anyone. We ended up having a fantastic conversation that went way beyond just the mansion. We talked shop, we compared notes on the Houghton legacy, and we get into some really wild stories from our lives as investigators, including some of my own personal stories that I haven't really shared with anyone publicly. It's a great ride, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
Welcome to Crypt Walkers, the podcast where the eerie and enigmatic come to life. Hosted by Ryder, a police officer and paranormal investigator with a lens for the unexplained. Open the crypt. Come take a walk with us.
They say grief has a long memory, and nowhere is that more evident than the Houghton Mansion. This is part 2 of our investigation. I'm Ryder, and joining me today is a man who knows a thing or two about spirits that refuse to move on. He's one of the leads over at Hometown Ghost Stories, and today he's joining me to explore a bit deeper into this case. Dave Wilkins, thanks for taking the walk with me amongst the crypts. How are you tonight?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'll just tell you right now, I have been excited to interview you basically since I've been binge watching binge listening to your show.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So it's been an interesting past couple weeks. I started doing research on the Houghton Mansion, basically to just get a general background and also look into some of maybe some evidence that was captured, by other teams and whatnot. I came across your video, which the audience is very familiar with because I had actually, if you guys look in the show notes, it's there, and I highly recommend you watch it before, tuning in. And it just intrigued me. So, yeah.
That was one of our first ghost investigations we ever did, and it's still some of the best evidence that we've ever caught.
The door. Oh, we're going to talk about the door.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, and here's the thing, I've seen things like that on my own investigations, growing up. I lived in a house that was very active, and we had activity that was a lot like that. But it's never been able to be captured on film. And I really love that it was French doors. But like I said, we'll go into that later. So you say this was your first investigation, and that particular investigation was your guys' first.
So it's actually, that investigation predates the podcast by 7 or 8 years.
Really?
Yeah, my other two co-hosts and I, we were big into ghost hunting, just amateur. We've been doing it for as long as we've known each other. And that was like the first real ghost investigation that we did, because my co-host Rob grew up in a haunted house, and we would go over there and we'd do, just amateur stuff with flashlights and whatnot, trying to capture evidence of the paranormal there. But the Houghton Mansion was the first time we actually paid for, booked a location, drove out to it, brought our equipment, the minimal stuff that we had, and actually did a real ghost investigation.
Walmart was your friend. Yep. I have been there, done that, bought the postcard, t-shirt, everything.
Yep.
Well, I will tell you right now, it didn't feel like it. When I was watching you guys, it was almost like, especially listening to the podcast and then also watching that video clip. I mean, it was as if you guys had been doing it this whole time.
Well, you got the highlight reel, right? If you saw all 3-4 hours of our full-on investigation that we had recorded, you'd be like, what are these guys doing?
Well, so here's the thing. Everybody watches these ghost shows and they think that, you're going to have a ghost banging on your door every 2 seconds, no pun intended. But honestly, a lot of investigations honestly, if you were to walk in and you didn't know anything about a paranormal investigation and you walked into a room where people are doing it, that sounded wrong, but where people are doing an investigation, it would just look weird because you got a bunch of grown people talking to nothing
Yeah.
You wonder if they need to be on meds. But no, it's an interesting, I don't even want to say hobby. And it's something that is an interesting, I think it's boggled the minds of humanity forever, for centuries. Is there life after death?
Yep.
And yeah, so it always starts with somebody that has a haunted house.
Usually, yeah.
Yep.
We did an episode recently, and we went back as far back as I could to find who were the first guys that were really thinking about ghosts that are on the record. And it goes back to Pythagoras, Plato, Socrates. They all had theories on the paranormal. So it is very old that people were investigating this.
Yeah, I think that sounds very familiar. I think that was the second to last episode I literally just listened to. It was the gentleman who had a dream about his friend that told him to, that told him, hey, you probably need to leave Berlin. Guys, listen to Hometown Ghost Stories. You'll know what I'm talking about. Okay. Anyway, so I'm back to this particular case.
Right.
So you guys started the team, and you guys were just kind of doing it for fun. You guys just picked the Houghton Mansion because it was nearby, or was it because you guys actually heard of its reputation?
We heard of the reputation, and I don't remember whether it was Ghost Adventures or Ghost Hunters that we saw it on, and we're like, oh, this is kind of close to us because we're in eastern Massachusetts, and the Houghton Mansion is out in western Massachusetts. It's actually the very top left corner of Massachusetts if you're looking at it on a map, and it's about 3.5 hour drive for us. So we're like, it's close enough. Let's do it. So it was cheap. I think it was like $80 to book the place for the night. So
yeah, I made a mention of that, and it was because you guys had said that in your video. I was like, oh wow, that's actually really cool. And I made a mention of that in the episode part 1, where I kind of, compliment the Masons for not price gouging.
Yeah.
There are certain locations which I said it in part 1, and I'll say it here too. I won't talk about that, but you are probably very familiar with what locations I'm talking about. Yeah, it's just not warranted.
Anyway, the same person too. We're thinking about the same places, but
exactly.
Yeah, and they totally could have price gouged too, because Ghost Adventures have been there, Ghost Hunters have been there. They could have charged $1,500 and people would pay it. We wouldn't have, but other people would.
Oh yeah, and it's got all of its haunting history aside and its tragic history, it's got a haunted house look. Mm-hmm. Just by looking at the pictures, it's like, oh yeah, that's a haunted house.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there.
They updated the siding to like the vinyl siding and whatnot, so it almost has like a commercial sort of feel to it. But the structure of it is it's not Victorian, but it's it looks the part.
I wonder what it would have actually looked like if it was today and it had the Spanish tiles and it had like these special clapboards. I can never say that. Where I don't know if you know this, but where it was like thicker at the bottom and it got thinner at top.
Yeah.
To make it look like it was, Yep. So
I'm familiar with the style.
Is that common out there?
Yeah, it is. A lot of Victorian style houses. This house is not Victorian style, but a lot will do that where they keep the clapboard courses closer together so it billows out more.
Really?
And then they can space them out as it goes up, so it almost does like a tapering fan sort of thing. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Well, so anyway, going back to it, you found the mansion. You guys were kind of, I remember the Ghost Adventures episode. I think it was like one of their very first episodes, if memory serves. I try not to talk about them too much on the show, not because I don't believe them or anything. It's just because I want to dive more into people who are not well known, just normal everyday Joes. One of the reasons why I have you on the show. Anyway, so the investigation, you guys came across it because it was near you. How hard was it to get in? And did you have a lot of people in there when you did it?
No, it was just the 3 of us, and then there were 2 caretakers that stayed the night. So some locations that we book will have the place to ourselves. Others will have caretakers. Others will have people that are very invasive to the investigation, which is frustrating. But this one was this one was good because the two caretakers were there, stayed out of our business. They did an interview for us, so they were very helpful with the questions that they answered, but then they stayed out of our way, which was perfect. So it was easy to get to, it was easy to get into, and yeah, it's an interesting town, right? It's, if you're not familiar with the area, it's in the Berkshires, which is kind of like a mountainous area. There aren't a lot of mountains in Massachusetts, but out west in the Berkshires, you get a little bit of it. And the way this town is it's completely surrounded by mountain walls. So the town is almost in like a bowl. You drive down along the mountain wall in almost like a spiral to get into the town. It's a really, really cool aesthetic. So as soon as we got there, we're like, this place is awesome. And we hit a little local restaurant, grabbed dinner, and then went right over to the mansion and started.
Wow. So how did it seem like, the town of North Adams was kind of, did it kind of give you Salem vibes? Like other parts of the town might be just as active, or?
Kinda. We didn't really get to explore the town a lot because we drove out there. It was short notice that we realized we were going to get the place. We just hit one restaurant, then went right to the location, and then we also hit the Hoosac Tunnel, but we didn't investigate there. We just visited it briefly to say we've been there. But yeah, we didn't really hit a lot of the other locations in town, but it did kind of have that Salem vibe, which is North Adams is actually a city, but it doesn't feel like a city. It feels more like a small town. So I would be willing to bet if we did a part 2 for North Adams, I would guess there are probably other haunted locations to check out.
I'm kind of curious about I haven't been able to really dive into it because I've just been so busy with recording and editing for this particular case, but it was the Blackington Mansion, which A.C. Houghton had actually donated to the town in 1896.
Oh, no kidding.
And that is now the town library. And dude, look this place up. It is beautiful.
What's it called?
It's called the Blackington Mansion, and it's just look up the North Adams Town Library.
Yeah, I just took a note. I'll look into that.
Yeah, and they did a really good job of keeping it like a mansion, if that makes sense.
It does, actually.
They kept it as it was. It's mostly restored. Now, when you go inside, obviously it's got modern day library vibes as well.
Right.
But I think like the whole upper half is still the way it was. And A.C. Houghton actually donated it in the name of his brother, Andrew Jackson Houghton. So has nothing to do with the paranormal, guys. None of that. But it does lean to show just how, Houghton wasn't just some big, like, tycoon that just had a lot of money, right? He believed in education and he believed in his community. And this is how he showed it.
Yeah. He seemed like he was a pretty good guy. He was the mayor, too, wasn't he?
He was the mayor, which is weird because they say he was only a mayor for 2 terms, but it was 1-year terms. So why not just say you were the mayor for 2 years?
Yeah, right. Well, it's cooler to say you won 2 elections. That's more impressive, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Although some of the sources that I found, I don't think he really had too much to run against.
Yeah, running on.
And when you he kind of drafted, this is how the town is going to work.
Okay.
And they were like, hey, you're a good leader. We're going to help you.
You can be in charge.
And when you own almost all the mills.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway. So you guys come into town. You said you guys got a brief history on it. How much of the activity did you guys know about at that time?
We were familiar with the door, and we were familiar with an apparition that shows up in one of the windows. And then we got they told us about, they think A.C. Houghton haunts the house. They think the daughter Mary haunts the house. And they think John Witters haunts the house. So we kind of got like a basic overview, but we didn't get a whole lot of specifics, which is how we like to do investigations. We like to go in, it's good to know the history, but we don't want to know exactly what the hauntings are like if we can avoid it. That way, whatever we get, we know is authentic, right? Because you don't want to sort of poison the well. If you know what you're looking for, you're kind of looking for something specific. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you guys were familiar with the tragedy that
Hmm.
occurred. I mean, it was even mentioned. You guys even did it in your video. And were you guys driving that course, like in the B-roll? That the actual road?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, that was somewhere in between eastern Massachusetts and western Massachusetts, so probably on the Mass Turnpike somewhere.
Okay. Okay. For those of you that are listening, and maybe this is the first episode that you've tuned in, there is a part one, as I mentioned before. It's just before this episode that gives you all of the information and all the history, but I'll just sum it up real quick. August 1st, 1914, Houghton family, they go out and they're driving their really massive Model T on steroids car. It's a Pierce Arrow, and they were driving it basically on a pleasure trip. The driver was John Witters, and he was the horseman / caretaker chauffeur of the family. Now, he was mostly, his history delved into horses, not cars. I mean, no one really had cars back then. So he was kind of relatively new to driving, and he was the one driving. Then you had A.C. Houghton, his daughter Mary, and then you had two other friends. One was a married couple, the Huttons, and essentially they were passing a car, or not a car. There was some road construction that was going on one side of the road, on the right-hand side. So as Witters was trying to make a pass on the left, he ended up going off the embankment slightly. The road gave way. The vehicle flipped a bunch of times, and basically all the women, I believe Hutton died instantly, and Mary was able to live long enough to get to a hospital, but she later died. The men were just ejected and really didn't suffer major apparent injuries. I'll get back to that. Later on that night, Witters was so distraught he think that he killed them. He blamed himself. The family actually had him on suicide watch. Unfortunately, early the next morning, he actually shot himself in the barn, and obviously died of his wounds. And then 10 days later, A.C. Houghton, he actually died, most likely caused by the wounds from the wreck. Although the town likes to dive into the kind of the romantic vibe of, hey, he just died of a broken heart. So that's the tragedy, guys, that kind of relates to these hauntings. So when Dave was saying that it's Albert and Mary and Witters that are known to haunt the location, it all relates back to that accident. So
Yes.
I digress. Sorry, Dave, that took way too long. And you're
All
sitting
good.
there going like, I know. So, when you guys started the investigation, did you guys get any like vibes that maybe the Masons might be amping up the haunting, or
No, they didn't give us that vibe at all. And we have done investigations on locations where we very much did suspect that was happening. We even caught somebody doing that to us one time, just messing with us. Like, hey, don't do that. But no,
Really?
these guys were great. They were very informative, and they were there to help when we asked for it, and they stayed right out of our business when we wanted that. So they were great, and they definitely I didn't get any vibes that they were messing with us at all.
Okay. Yeah, that'll obviously play into later. I have some thoughts about the door footage, and it relates to that. And good things, I promise. But
Oh, trust me, I fielded all sorts of questions about that door video. People have all sorts of theories about what it was. And the fun thing about this was when I originally joined the show with the other two, I was a skeptic, didn't believe in ghosts at all. And I was a hardline skeptic. So my job there that night was to debunk anything that I thought was fake or could be explained away with something physical or material that wouldn't, that could answer a question that would say, maybe this isn't paranormal.
really,
Yeah,
well, then you're the perfect person to have on the show. Like,
I think so.
because I mean, that really points to the credibility of it. I mean, for those of you out there that are new to paranormal investigating, it doesn't hurt to have a friend or somebody on your team that is a natural skeptic. Because let's be honest, we all like a good ghost story, and it can run away from you real quick. You know, you might start
to rule out what isn't. Because if you're trying to find out what is, the best way to do that is rule out the things that you know isn't. So
exactly. There's a quote somewhere by Sherlock Holmes, but I can't think of it. It's something like that. When you rule out the probable, it's improbable or whatever.
Yep.
It's somewhere. And, well, that's good. And then I'm talking to the right person because obviously a lot of people would look at that video footage and go, that was faked.
Yep.
You know, oh, this was that. I don't think it was. So.
It wasn't. And it's I feel like if we were gonna, I don't know, it's just it's almost too perfect when you watch it. It's like, okay, that has to be fake because look at it, it's closed on command twice. But again, you're getting the highlight reel, right? So we do that every time.
I'm pretty sure that it was really good that it worked for your favor that it was French doors.
Yeah,
because you could see through the door.
Yep.
And I'm actually in an old house right now, that's from the 30s, and these doors, they're heavy. Okay, it's not cheap construction. So my thing is, a skeptic might say, oh well, they just had fishing line. In the video footage, in frame, I can see. I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it you that was standing in front of the door?
No, I was holding the camera. My brother Jesse was standing in front of the door. Rob was sitting down.
Okay. So you can see everybody's hands all at once. There's nobody pulling on anything. And trust me, in law enforcement, you have to watch people's hands. So naturally, I don't mean to, but I look for that. And I didn't see any blatant actions to try to pull a string or something to get the door closed. Plus, with the door being that heavy and moving that fast, you would really have to yank on that sucker if you had a fishing line. And the fishing line would have to be strong enough to hold, back that much weight.
Yeah.
So, it was really good. And if you guys do check out the footage, it's really not that long. You guys can literally pause the episode and click on it and watch it. It's like, 3 minutes? The quick...
Maybe not even. Yeah, I think it's a minute and a half.
Yeah.
We have isolated on our TikTok page, too, if you jump there. It's one of our first videos we posted on our TikTok page.
I would. I mean, if that was...
Check it out. You have to scroll through and like every single post on the way, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a part of it. Otherwise, you can't see it.
Yeah.
I think it was amazing. So, the general premise of that, by the way, is that you could, I believe it's if you ask AC Houghton to close the door, he'll respond in that way, should he choose.
Sometimes he doesn't. So, like I said, we tried it several times. It didn't work every time, but the two that were really good, we isolated and put into that clip. So it was crazy because it was on command both times, which is just insane.
Have you guys ever thought about releasing a long version that is stupidly long?
No.
Now that you guys have an audience, that might actually care?
No, we haven't. I mean, we could. We'd have to dig for that footage. Again, we recorded this in 2015. So, or was it 14? It was a long time ago. So, but I don't think so. Because there isn't a lot of good stuff in between. It would just be boring.
Yeah. All right. Well, you guys can at least see the actual footage of it happening, though, which is awesome. Did you guys ever encounter, the little girl that's supposed to be in the basement?
We didn't get much in the basement. As a matter of fact, really the only possibly paranormal activity we got was the door. And then there was, when I was in the Masons Lodge area, there was some knocking that we heard. And then there was it looked like a shadow figure that walked by at one point. So again, I don't know if these things were paranormal, but they could have been.
Okay, so when I watched your footage, well, first I have to ask, do you know anything about the Masons?
I know rumors. I think if you listen to our episode, you probably hear me hint that they are alleged to be demon worshippers, but I don't know anything. I'm not a Mason, and I don't have any family member who are Masons. So everything that I know about them is just what I've heard.
Okay. Well, essentially, the Masons are the world's oldest fraternal organization. Really, it's just based off of a bunch of old guys getting together and doing a bunch of just activities and whatnot, and fundraising and I don't know, teaching each other better values. Basically, the synopsis of it is good men making greater men, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of virtues and things part of it. I can only speak to one thing, and that is DMLA. So DMLA is the Masonic Youth, and it's for boys between the ages of 12 to 21. When you turn 21, you become a senior DMLA. Where am I going with this? I am a senior DMLA. So when I saw your guys' evidence, I saw something different because you guys were in the chapter room. The knocking, you remember that? I think you were the one that did that, right? You were knocking.
So we each took a section of the building that were supposed to be haunted. So there was the lodge. I had the lodge, and then Rob was upstairs in Mary's room, and Jesse got the third floor, which I believe was servant quarters. So we had those three areas. But yeah, I had the lodge, and I was trying to get some communication via knocks.
Okay. Well, I'm not really revealing much secrets or anything. And honestly, though I'm a senior DMLA, I have not gone on to become a Mason. Unfortunately, I just don't have the time. There are time commitments, volunteering for things, whatnot. But, so I can't really speak on the Mason side, only what I've heard from other Masons. But from the DMLA side, without getting too technical, there are certain activities that happen prior to a meeting that involve certain rituals. One of which is where you have a guard on the outside of the door to the chapter room, and you have a man at the post on the inside. And they answer each other with a series of raps, which is knocks. So it occurred to me that when you were knocking, you were receiving the knocks back. That's normal for a chapter room.
That's interesting. I didn't know any of this, so I had suspected maybe the building was knocking, or, old buildings make weird noises, and
that could be.
It could be, but that's, I'm glad you told me that, because that's something I didn't even know, and that definitely makes it a little bit more interesting, for sure.
Yeah. There's another interesting thing to point out. So again, I'm speaking from DMLA, which it has a lot of similarities to the Masons because they are the Masonic Youth. In that, there's certain ways to move about the room. Okay, think of it kind of like chess pieces, right? Certain people move a certain way per their station, if that makes sense. So, your deacons move a certain way, your chaplain moves a certain way, a variety of things. Okay. Around the chapter room, there's basically like a rectangle, and the way that you move is you square your corners. So it's kind of like, think of it like the military where they do a perfect 90, right? It's very, heck, it even matches kind of a march, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What's interesting is when I watch the video footage from inside the chapter room or inside the lodge, when you see that figure move and the way that he moves, it made me think of somebody moving as if they were squaring the corners.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh. Dad,
yeah.
Where were you when we were reviewing this this stuff? It would have been good to know some of this stuff. That's pretty good, because I had, and again, that was my job to debunk things. So I had assumed that when we saw that figure walk by, that it was just one of the caretakers who were walking by. But when we asked them, they said they weren't in that area. And I know Jesse and Rob were waiting outside at the car while I was doing that part of the investigation. So I don't know who it could have been, but that's, from what you're saying, that could have been a residual haunt.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't doubt it. And here's what's interesting is that any time the lodge opens or the chapter room opens, in D. Malay's chapter room, in the Masons, it's lodge. But anytime it opens, they do the same. It's the same procedure over and over and over prior to conducting their meeting.
Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for a residual haunting.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I'll leave it at that because I don't want to first of all, D. Malay is it's a great organization. And I'm not here to do an elevator pitch on them or anything. But it teaches you fundamental values, especially as a young man. There's 7 virtues. There's the filial love, loving your family, reverence for sacred things, courtesy, comradeship, fidelity, patriotism, and there's even cleanliness. But anyway, so that's fundamental of it. The whole Masons are demonic and stuff. No, they're not demon worshipers. Honestly, so the lodge where our chapter was based out of, in the kitchen, they actually have a sign that is like a meme. Like, think of it like one of the first memes, right? And it's pictures, and it goes, what society thinks I do, what the public thinks I do, what my wife thinks I do. The wife one, I think it's a bunch of men surrounded, like holding beers. Yeah. And then it's like what society thinks I do, and it's the Shriners riding on their cars, in parades. And then it's like what some people think I do, and it shows demon worshipers. And then it says what I actually do, and it just shows a guy washing dishes.
Yeah.
So anyway, I digress. But no, if you guys ever need help in the future with research on that, feel free to reach out to me. Yeah. Even if you guys need a police officer's point of view on things,
Yeah, that's an interesting one too. We covered a few cases where police were involved in the haunting, and I always like that because it adds a layer of credibility, right? Police officer will have something to lose if he's saying that he's, witnessing hauntings, right? It brings their credibility into question. So for someone to say that they saw something haunted, I think is a big deal. Same with politicians that are involved, doctors and whatnot, because, people who dabble in the paranormal sometimes are ostracized.
Oh, trust me, I know. Eventually I'm gonna get the courage, and I will probably evolve to where I'm more, there's a reason why you don't see me. There's a reason why I'm audio only. The people that I work with are very supportive of it, but there's certain things that I got to be careful about. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I can't, because I could end up being in court and on a completely random case. And if some defense attorney found out that I'm, into the paranormal, they could turn and go, oh, well, do you see dead people? And I'll be like, well, no. And then the you could tell I've thought this through. Yeah. The judge will be like, oh, well, the jury needs to just ignore that. And they would be true. Yeah, that has nothing to do with the case. But defense attorneys are pretty good about, they know that the jury isn't going to forget that. Yeah,
I've always had that in my head when a judge says, the jury will disregard that. It's like, okay. Yeah, they heard it, though. What are they going to... All right, I forgot. Got it.
Yeah. It's like... Oh, yeah, no, the jury will forget that in the past that he beat his wife a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Well, his wife ended up dead, but I guess it has nothing to do with this case.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, I'm sorry. No, I digress. But I've been interested in true crime as well. I thought about including more true crime onto the show, but I'm always nervous about that. You know what I mean? Because
a lot of big paranormal cases are also true crime. Amityville is a big one. The Amityville case.
Villisca Axe Murder House.
Villisca, yeah. We actually went there Went there last year.
Oh, that's so creepy.
Yeah,
dude, that's my next case.
It's a great one. We did a Midwest trip last spring, and we flew into Kansas City, and then we went right over to the Sally house in Kansas, and then we went up to the Villisca axe murder house in Iowa, and then we went to another mansion in Iowa. The name escapes me at the moment, but the three of them was really, really awesome.
Wow.
Villisca's great. That house looks exactly as it did during the time of the murders in the early 1900s, to the point where there's no electricity still. If you're going there, you're gonna be in the dark, and it's a surreal experience.
Not revealing where I am. I'm in the Midwest, and I've literally thought about going on a weekend. And well, because I've got this. This is literally the next case. You don't know this, but yes, there's a trailer at the end of this episode that is, spoiler alert, Villisca Axe Murder House. Holy crap. And here I am trying to find somebody to come on the show that already knows. But I think it'll be weird to have you two shows back to back. But
maybe Rob, my co-host, will jump on with you because he's big on Villisca.
Oh, that'd be perfect. But
yeah.
No
promises.
Be great. No promises. Yeah.
Actually,
but we'll see.
I don't want to hear me say it. I'm just kidding.
Well, I won't hold you to it. I'll just put it that way. But no, but I think it's easier to delve into that because it's older.
Mm-hmm.
If I covered a case that happened yesterday.
Yeah, it's a little bit tricky. I covered one from Albuquerque there was a serial killer who went on a tirade and killed, I think, 18 people back in the mid 2000s, 2012ish, and that kind of felt gross, right? Because even though there are hauntings tied to it that they say, it just felt a little bit too soon, So it gets dicey. But I mean, Villisca was a long time ago, and it's. Have you read The Man from the Train?
So I have not read it, but I have heard some of the theories surrounding it. Regarding you're referring to what I think you're referring to, correct? The
Villisca.
Villisca, the possibility of a trained serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil anything for your next episode, but I strongly recommend that book. It's very good.
Yeah. The Man from the Train, you said?
Mm-hmm.
I could give that a read before, we've got a month before it hits the waves, so to speak.
Yeah, if you do an audiobook, I think it's maybe a 6 or 8 hour listen.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah,
My patrol is 12 hours, so
it might be a little longer than 6 to 8, but I think 12 hours you could crush it if it's a slow night.
Yeah, I'm gonna give that a shot. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. See, this is why I had him on the show, guys.
We covered all of them.
Yeah. It's generally we're back from a hiatus and some changes, but ideally what I want to do is a case episode, and then I want to try to get a part 2 in there where I'm actually talking with somebody who's actually been there. So instead of just hearing me talk about history and then on to the next case.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not always going to happen like that, guys, but that's what my goal is going forward. But dude, we went off on a tangent.
We did, yeah.
We went off on a really good tangent, but let's get back to the Houghton Mansion. So let's see here, you guys. How much did you know about the basement?
Just from what the caretakers told us, and they gave us a basic overview. They said it was one of the more haunted areas in the house. They said the basement was very haunted. They said that the top floor was very haunted, a lot of activity there. Obviously, the door. They mentioned the Mason's Lodge and Mary's room on the second floor, but the basement was one of the rooms. We did investigate. We didn't really get anything down there. That's why I don't think we saw anything in our video of that when we covered that location, but it doesn't mean just because we didn't catch something doesn't mean that it isn't haunted.
No, that makes sense. But how much do you know of the history of that particular basement?
You could refresh my memory because
Okay, I'm gonna do that. So I found this interesting when I was doing my research. There was a house that was there before the Houghton Mansion, and it was torn down. Well, it had a perfectly good basement. So why waste a basement?
Yeah.
So half the basement is from that original house. So it's even older than the Houghton Mansion. And that's when they talk about, if I'm not mixing up different cases, the whole little girl spirit thing with the toys and whatnot.
Yep.
I've always theorized, if you believe any of this, I've always theorized that if there is a little girl spirit, either A, it's demonic,
Yeah.
or demon. I could go on forever about the Sally House, but
So could I.
oh, dude, for a second when we stop recording, I got something to tell you. So the girl. Could she be connected to, if she really does exist, could she be connected to the original house? Because we have no idea what the history was on that place. Also, are you familiar with the connection in the basement to the Hoosac Tunnel?
I think you're going to have to remind me again. 2004.
So the foundation and the surrounding outer walls of the mansion were built using the rocks from the Hoosac Tunnel.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, I did know that.
Yeah. And I talk about this in part 1, but that's a pretty big stone tape generator, if you ask me. And some would even theorize that maybe, I kind of allude to this in part 1, that, maybe there was a little bit of I wouldn't say curse, but bad luck that came to the family, because of this.
It's a good theory. The people recycling basements is actually more common than you might think. We see it a lot. And this was an example of one where they took stones from the Hoosac Tunnel, which I don't know how much of that you covered in your first episode, but there was a ton of tragedy there. Mm-hmm. And we see it a lot where people will actually use gravestones from a graveyard as stones in the foundation.
Get out.
Which just seems, there's been a couple different cases that we've covered where they a local graveyard got destroyed or whatever, and you see it all the time where like a developer will rip up a graveyard and build something, and then a lot of times they'll actually use the gravestones as flagstones to build the foundation. It's like, you're asking to be haunted. Violently haunted.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, there's a few cases that you'll, if you keep digging into them, you'll come across a few of them. But,
wow.
Yeah.
And this is in America?
Oh, yeah.
This isn't like over in Europe?
Both. But yeah, there are some American cases.
Wow. And here I thought, so the house I grew up in, unfortunately our dog passed away.
Sorry to hear.
As happens. It was sad. And we buried him basically in the flower garden just on the other side of the house. Right? Just on the other side of the basement wall. And so I got the bright idea, like I thought about it, and I was like, oh, well, I'm going to write on the basement wall where he is on the other side. I'm going to write his name and, whatever, and date of death and birth and whatnot. And then I got to thinking about it. I'm like, well, we're going to sell this house eventually, and then somebody's going to come down here. They're going to think somebody's buried in the wall.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no, we probably shouldn't do that. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so I think, for the most part, this kind of sums up a lot of the Houghton Mansion, especially in relation to the case that you guys, and what you guys experienced. The likelihood of ever going back, unfortunately, I guess is slim to none at this point.
Yeah.
Have you guys, since you guys are already in, and I'm going to say this wrong, Massachusetts? Yeah. If you listen to part 1, you're going to be like, to learn how to say our state right. Okay, so I'm from the Midwest. Give me a break.
It's called Mass.
Mass.
Yeah.
But then I think of some cat. Anyway, no, we're gonna move on. So where was I with this?
You can't really. So the Houghton Mansion, I believe, closed in 2017.
Yes, unfortunately, the Masons had to sell it.
They sold it, and developers bought it, but they haven't done anything with it yet. It still stands there, as far as I know, but it's not I think the plan might be to demolish it and build something else there, but they haven't done it yet. So I think the
Is
likelihood of being able to investigate there is probably not going to happen unless you're real brave.
is that what you is that what rumor mill you've heard?
Yeah, I think actually even if you go to, I think if you Wikipedia it, I believe.
See, what's funny, guys, is I stay away from Wikipedia because it was drilled into me when I was growing up in school. You know,
Yeah, that it's oh no, sorry. No, I can't
don't
find it.
use Wikipedia. Look
Well,
it
because
up.
anybody can. Well, they say anybody can edit it, but you can't just go change something. It has to be like a certain amount of people have to make the same edit for it to be able to work. So you can't just go in and change stuff.
Although they're pretty damn quick when it comes to somebody dying. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
like it'll go from Chuck Norris is to Chuck Norris was like
yeah, real quick.
that.
Well, when you're as big as Chuck Norris, for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, closed to the public. And I lost it. Yeah, it's closed in 2017, and it remains. It's still there, but it sold to a developer at a reported price of 160,000, which is a steal.
Mm.
But it's closed, but it still stands. So the person who bought
Wow.
it is a developer.
Goodness.
So we'd have to.
Yeah, the only thing I've heard is basically a hotel. Now, I'm not going to mention his name here. I didn't want to do that, and I didn't mention him in part one. He is known to that town, and there's quite a few properties that he's done this to. But the problem is like I can't find any information on like, is this somebody that wants to preserve some history or like lean into it? I mean, clearly not, because I mean you've had what 2017 to now almost a decade.
Mhm. Yeah.
But man, do you realize you guys might have been one of the last few to actually get to investigate the Houghton Mansion?
Yeah, it's true. We had talked about that a couple times. Like we probably weren't the last, but among the last for sure. So it was cool to be able to do it because it was a really, really cool building, and we got again some of our best evidence.
Wow. I won't mention it on here, but the Masonic Lodge that we operated out of is very active.
Oh, yeah.
It's got some activity, and unfortunately, a gentleman died in the lodge.
Oh.
But I could tell you off camera, but I don't want to dox myself. If that makes sense. But yeah, I mean that kind of sums it up. You guys went to the Hossack Tunnel. You obviously didn't go in, right? Because I think it's active.
Yeah, we didn't really get it. We might have went in a little bit, but we didn't go far, and we didn't do an investigation or anything. We kind of just wanted to go to it, see it, and it looks spooky, for sure.
Yeah, I think any tunnel would be.
Yeah.
Any tunnel would be. Do you think since you guys have, a lot more dead people count? No, I'm kidding. Since you got a lot more case counts than I do, have you guys ever covered the Hossack Tunnel on its own, or
No.
no? Okay. I was wondering when I was doing my basic research. I'm like, well, actually, maybe there's something to cover here, in its own case episode. So
It's got a ton
I
of
don't know.
history. I mean, the history itself, even without the hauntings, is there's a lot there to cover.
Oh yeah, yeah. And there, have you seen a map of it? Like the old map?
It's long, right? It was
Yeah. Well, basically, you have this massive mountain cut profile, and then you have just the straight tunnel, and then you have a 1,000-foot central shaft in the dead center of the mountain.
oh wow, that's crazy.
So not only were they tunneling this way, horizontally, they were tunneling technically vertically because they had to have access to the central shaft.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Kind of right up through like the center of the mountain.
Yeah, it was crazy. And the biggest tragedy, of course, was trying to remember what year it was. It's in part one, guys. 1800s, okay? In the 1800s, there was a fire that happened on the building that was on top of the central shaft, and all of this heavy machinery and everything, and the fire and the flames came down. the tunnel flooded and it actually killed 13 men who were trapped beneath it.
Yeah.
They had actually originally survived. There's evidence that they had created rafts and that they had actually lived down there for a little bit of time. But it took a year for them to dig into that and actually get back to them. And of course, they just found the bodies.
Yeah,
but
that's
yeah,
brutal. I mean,
Yeah.
what a nightmare. I'm like claustrophobic, so you'd never catch me in a tunnel. Or the craziest thing I see are those spelunkers that like crawl into like the tiny little caves. You'll never
No.
catch me doing that. But I mean, absolute nightmare situation to be trapped in a tunnel like that, in my opinion.
Shout out to Mr. Ballin. He taught me, no, you don't go in a cave.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely not.
Yeah, and half of his stories are, you won't believe what this happened, and it's a horrific death, and it's always they're either scuba diving or they're in a cave.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I could probably scuba dive as long as I was in a nice, open,
Yeah, yeah. I'm with you
area.
there. I could also do that. Just I'm not going into a little tunnel.
Yeah,
happening.
I could do that. I know I have a police officer friend that I worked with when I worked for my old department, we worked together as partners, but, now I'm in a completely different department. He actually just got accepted. He's doing, river diving for, rescue and things like that. So he's a big scuba diver.
That's a cool job.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, but honestly, dude, so I've seen dead bodies. I've been around dead bodies. It is what it is. Now, imagine being in pitch darkness, in the water, in the murk, feeling out, and then all of a sudden seeing a dead body looking at you through the water.
Yeah, that's a jump scare in a lot of horror movies.
No. Yet, my buddy Seth is like, let's go. He's like, let's do it. I'm like, no, thank you. I'll go look at the pretty Nemo fishes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll do that type of diving. But anyway, so I guess we'll go ahead and wrap up here. Where I've kind of briefly mentioned it, but where to find you guys? How do you guys do your thing?
Yeah, well, you can find us on all podcast platforms, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, wherever. We're on all of them. Also, if you like to watch live shows, we're live every Tuesday on YouTube, 9 o'clock Eastern. Our page is Hometown Ghost Stories on YouTube, so check us out. We've covered a lot of locations. We have actually, by the time this comes out, we'll have just done our 200th episode, so that's a lot.
Yeah. And you guys have a lot of cool content anyway in between. Like you do your cases,
Yeah.
but you also do. I'm trying to think of it right now. Like you'll do like the ghost
History of ghosts, yeah.
history of ghosts. You do a few listener file. Well, not you guys don't do listener files. I do listener files.
Yeah.
But you guys do listener stories.
Yep.
Which I guess I listened to your latest one and it was pretty good.
Yeah.
There was
stuff that's sent in.
Yeah, the story of the guy at the funeral got me.
Creepy.
So I'll tell you a ghost story real quick that was told to me by an officer. He's been at this point he's been a police officer for 35 years. He's a sergeant, and it's not on my current department, so anybody who's listening that you guys know. Anyway, and he told me an interesting story where he responded to a call. It was non-responsive, not breathing. The RP was already, or the reporting party was already doing chest compressions. So he responds to the call. He shows up, and he's like third on scene, comes around a corner, and he sees a man standing there outside in the yard. And he just kind of looks at him, and he points to the front door. That's not uncommon. Okay, we'll show up on scene on a call, and like there's random people just looky-loos, whatever.
Yep.
So he doesn't even regard him. He just looks at him for a second, and runs into the house. Comes around the back corner, goes into the bedroom. That's where this man's wife is literally doing CPR. He takes over for her, starts doing CPR, and realizes he is doing CPR on the man that just pointed to the door.
Oh, that's crazy.
And what's crazy
Oh,
is
he was saying, "Go save my life."
yes.
That's nuts.
He pointed, and that's what he did.
Wow.
And what's crazy is on his body cam footage, you don't see it,
Oh,
but you hear him respond, "Okay, sir."
oh, wow.
And he goes towards the door.
That's a great story. I mean,
Yeah.
did the guy survive?
Fortunately, no.
Yeah,
He did not survive. But
rough.
I hate to tell you, but unfortunately, the movies TV shows like to portray, oh, if I do CPR, they live.
Right.
And unfortunately, sometimes that's not the case.
Yeah.
So, but in some cases they do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
you know, there was
but this is interesting, right? Because there is a possibility that person could have been saved, right?
Mm-hmm.
And had they lived, what would that be? Their ghost actually caused them to be saved, right? Pointed.
Mm-hmm.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be yeah. I remember reading about this. This was probably back when I was a senior in high school. 2015. There was a case where there was a motor vehicle accident, I think. I'm trying to remember it. And I remember watching the body cam footage, and it was like really crappy body cam footage. Where you hear a woman, like this car basically flipped over, right? It was a woman and her infant child, okay? And they were in standing water. So there was a danger that they were literally going to drown, locked into their seats. So the first responders that responded first, first responders who responded first. Oh my God. I've had a night. Anyway, the first people on scene, put it that way, including the officer that had the body cam footage running. It was him, it was a firefighter, another paramedic, and then they had firefighters that were already trying to extricate, I can't say the word all of a sudden.
I think you said it, extricate, right? That's a word.
Extricate.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Had a long day. Anyway, so they were already working on that, and there's this woman just screaming, basically saying, you know, save my baby first, save my baby first, save my baby first. And the guy that has the body cam footage, he's like, ma'am, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take care of her first. I will do that for you. Just sit tight, you know, calm down. And he's talking to her from outside the car, like he's talking through the door or whatnot, so he can't see her. He goes around the side. He does see the infant. The infant's hanging in the car seat. And he releases the latch, grabs the infant, pulls the infant out. The infant's fine. He looks over and he sees her. Now she is completely pinned. Her neck is broken, and she is already covered in water. She was already deceased.
Oh, wow.
And she had been deceased since the accident.
Wow.
She was killed instantly. And that, I really want to find that because I remember reading it. Guys, in the comments, if you know what I'm talking about, because I'm pretty sure this went viral. Because there's footage. Like, there's actual, like, you hear her.
Oh, really?
You know, yeah, there's footage out there, man. And it's like, get my baby. And I'm going to get your baby, ma'am. I'm going to, you know, and he goes right. And yeah.
But even if they couldn't nail down the exact time of death, if she was underwater, she couldn't have been screaming, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, she could not have been screaming, A. And B, what's interesting is that I think when they did the accident report, they realized it was a delayed accident report. She had gone off the road, flipped, and she was off in a ditch that was off the side of the road, so she wasn't seen for a while. She was she was declared, I think, a missing person.
Wow. And
they pinged her phone, and that's how they found her, which means there was no, like, witness that was like, oh, this just occurred.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
it's crazy. The baby lived. I mean, that's great.
The baby lived, yeah. And what's crazy is I think there was another element of, you know, there was flash flooding in the area and stuff. And even though he was fine, the water could have rose
Right.
and caused issues, or the car could have shifted. And, I mean, there's a variety of things, but
That's crazy.
an interesting ghost story.
Yeah. So first responders and hospice nurses and ICU nurses and doctors have some of the craziest ghost stories. And that's from what I've heard.
Yep. When I was in high school, I took EMT, and I graduated high school with my EMT certification. I never did anything with it, so
I did
anyway.
the same thing. I got my EMT base. I could never do anything with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. It's sad because you could have ended up becoming a paramedic, and then you could have been a nurse, and then anyway, whatever.
So many more ghost stories. What was funny was I actually did apply, but they were like, your driving record sucks. You can't we can't have you driving an ambulance. Damn it.
I was on clinicals, and it was, I'm trying to remember how many hours I had to do. 20-something hours, 24 hours. I don't know. You might remember. Where essentially you had to go to different hospitals and different, you basically just had to sit and watch people work. And I went to one hospital, and the lady, sweet lady, she was the charge nurse, but she was like the predictor of death. And she was not like, she was very blunt about it. Like, a guy would come in, and she'd tell the other nurse, he's going to die today.
Yikes.
I'm like, Jesus, woman.
Did she look the part? I'm picturing like an old crypt keeper type.
She looked a little bit like Umbridge
Okay.
from Harry Potter,
Yeah.
but she was very sweet. She'd be like, oh, sweetheart, how you doing? All this type of stuff. And,
You're going to die today.
and then it's like, okay, well, I'll make it comfortable for you, okay? That she would walk back into the break room and be like, that man in room 212, yeah, he's going to die tonight.
Jesus.
And I was like, are you going to kill him?
I know, right?
Like, are you nurse death or something? And I was like, no, she didn't kill him, but she just knew,
But she was right.
She was always right.
That's great.
And that's what I was told by the other nurses. Now, of course, I'm at that point, 16, 17-year-old kid. They could just be screwing with me.
Could be.
But,
Could be.
I mean, I literally only worked one shift, because then you would just move on to the next, wherever it would be. I can't stand nursing homes, dude. Cannot stand nursing homes. And I have, on outside of everything, done paranormal investigating since I was 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And you start kind of, and you probably already know this, you start developing, not like you're a medium or anything, but you start developing like a sense where you like walk into a place and you're like, yeah, there's a vibe.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, we get it at different locations for sure. And I'm not as sensitive. My co-host Rob is possibly somewhat sensitive, but you'll get we did the Conjuring house in Rhode Island, and you walk into that property and you're like, it's just heavy. Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, heavy. And the Conjuring house is different from Gettysburg. I shouldn't conflate the two. Gettysburg is heavy for obvious reasons. The Conjuring house looks really creepy, and they have all this like signage out front that says keep out. They have barbed wire and whatnot, because after the movie, spectators just went nuts, harassing the people that lived there.
You know what's funny is that's one of the rare occasions where the movie looked nicer than the actual. Like, when you look at the actual house, it's a lot creepier.
Yeah, the Conjuring house, they couldn't film it at the actual location because the house is too small, so they had to move to.
They did that with basically every Amityville movie as well.
Yeah, well, they couldn't use the Amityville house because the people who own it now don't lean into the haunting. They don't like it. They even removed like those trademark windows that the Amityville house has. They replaced them, and I don't know if you've ever been to that house. It's weird. It's like in like a really busy neighborhood. You wouldn't expect it.
I have been there on the Google Maps and spied on it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm very conflicted. I'm very conflicted with that particular case. and I will cover it at some point. But I'm okay mentioning it here. I don't necessarily know if it's actually active. I just don't know. You know what I mean? What do you think?
So
You think it's actually active?
probably not, but I don't think that means it wasn't haunted at one point. The thing with the
Mm-hmm.
Amityville house is it was believed to be demonic. So the difference between a demon and a ghost is a ghost will haunt a location and a demon will haunt people. So
Mm-hmm.
the idea that with the Amityville house is that you had a demon that was possessing Ronnie DeFeo, who was
Mm-hmm.
the gentleman who I shouldn't say gentleman, the guy who shot his family, and then that demon then possessed the owner who moved into the house after them, and they were there for 28 days, and then the family had to leave. But the family who left said the haunting followed them after they left the house, and that would explain why the house didn't remain haunted after they left.
You know, I did not know that element that it followed them.
Hmm.
That actually changes my philosophy on it.
Yeah, I mean, it still could have been a hoax. I mean, they had the book. We covered that pretty early on, and I did this whole. There was a debunker who like wrote a whole book trying to debunk the Amityville haunting, and I went through his book and I did like a little 6-minute segment of me debunking all of his debunkings on it.
Which is funny because you were the debunker of your team.
Yeah, I was. Well, I mentioned earlier I went in as kind of a hard skeptic, and that was kind of the angle. But since then, I'm still a skeptic, but I'm much less of a hard skeptic. I'm more very much open-minded. I've been big into the philosophy behind ghosts and the possible, duality of the mind and the body. If the body is all physical and material, and the mind is immaterial or even somewhat immaterial,
Mm-hmm.
there could be something there as to how part of the mind could remain after death if it is immaterial. So there's some philosophy behind that I think is pretty interesting. But, I think it's always important to remain skeptical about everything, because if you just believe everything, then how do you know
Yeah,
what's
no,
real and
that's
what
true.
isn't? So
Yeah.
definitely the more locations that I've covered and the more we look into it, the more open my mind has become over time.
Could you pinpoint? Is there like a particular like case or investigation where you're like, okay, this stuff is real?
There was no light switch moment, but it was sort of gradual over time, and it starts with that door at the Houghton Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
Oddly enough, because my job was to go there and debunk it, and I couldn't debunk the door, and it was like if you watch the video, if you've seen it, it looks so fake, and I was like, I can debunk it. I looked at the hinges. The hinges are bomber hinges, but they're
Mm-hmm.
really old bomber hinges. So the way a bomber hinge works is it's spring loaded, and you push it open, it'll swing shut. So immediately I was like, that's it. But they were so old and worn down that they didn't. Like when you watch that video, you'll see when it closes, it kind of goes back and forth a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the spring action. That's what's left of it kind of doing its thing. But if it was a true bomber hinge that was brand new, you wouldn't be able to if you push the door open, it wouldn't stay. But it was so
Mm-hmm.
worn out that you could just push the door all the way open. It would just sit there. And it would sit there for hours. And then it would slam on command. So it was pretty weird. So I couldn't debunk it that way. We shot it from every single angle to see if there was something behind it. We tried jumping on the floor to see if we can get it to move, and nothing. It was just on command. Sometimes it would just close. So when I couldn't debunk that, I was like, maybe I'm not as good of a debunker as I thought I was going to be. But just
Wow.
over time, different locations, crazy things have happened. Things that I just can't explain. The Sally House, we saw some insane things happen there. This was great. I mean, stop me if I'm just rambling too much, but
No,
we
no, this is good.
we recorded some stuff at the Sally House, and we got the weirdest EVP. I was doing a spirit box session in the room. I don't know if you're familiar with the case, but there was a room where they believe, the ghost of a little girl haunts. And I've never had this happen before with a spirit box. Typically, you'll just get like a fragmented voice that sounds like a word. And, if it answers you, it could be something intelligent trying to communicate with you. Something screamed for like 9 seconds. And it was one of the most disturbing noises I've ever heard come through that device. And it like completely cut my investigation short. And, I called the guys up. I'm like, guys, what the hell was that? And they came up and we played it back. And it was just this guttural, just horrifying scream that carried over like 15, 20 channels, which shouldn't work. And I actually took that footage and I, opened it into my video editing or my audio editing, and you could actually see each break where the channel changed. Like that screen was breaking in between each channel change. So that thing carried over several channels. No
Oh,
clue what
wow.
it was. We guessed maybe it was a tornado siren coming through, which doesn't make sense. But there was a lot of tornadoes while we were out there at the time, but that didn't really make sense. Either way, when we released the video, people were commenting while we were in that room. There was a whole bunch of dolls that were on the bed, and my brother Jesse was sitting on the bed, and everyone started commenting like one of the dolls just moved. So we're like, oh, that's weird. So after the fact, we went and played the video back, and I didn't think it was anything crazy that a doll could have moved while somebody's sitting on the bed. You're moving. A doll, we missed this. We missed it when it happened, and we missed it when we were going back and editing all the video. A doll sat up on the bed. And you can actually see this in our Sally House investigation video. If you watch the recap video that we released after the investigation video, I like circle it and point to it. A doll literally just sits up in the bed,
Holy
which is
crap.
like, I have no explanation for that. So we've got different things at different locations that we've seen that
I'm getting goosebumps.
that
'Cause
over time it's just kind
I've been there.
wears down on the skeptical side of me.
I'm gonna share with you some of my Sally House stuff.
Have you been?
Oh yeah,
Oh, nice.
oh yeah, and I'm gonna cover it as a case. So, the problem with the Sally House is that what started my paranormal journey was very similar. And so when I heard the story and I read it, I was reading my story.
Mm.
And I even looked at Dad, because we hadn't even heard of the Sally House before. And I told him about it. And I was like, this is the type of stuff that was happening to us. Because we didn't believe in anything. We believed in God and things like that, but the ghosts were not a thing. But I lived in a very active haunted house, and it had something that was demonic. Me and my dad would have moments where we would forget time, and we would get angry over just the smallest of little things. And it was just me and my dad that lived there, and we would lose track of time. And we looked into it. We had the fire department come out because we were like, hey, could you do a gas test?
Yep.
Maybe are we having some freaky mental stuff with gas? And it's a very long story, and I will definitely cover it because whenever the team that I would later join, which for the most part was a bunch of misfits, the team that I later joined, we made that our base of operations. I mean, that's where we would test stuff.
Yeah.
And downstairs there was one. We had a night vision camera that was facing. It was in the kitchen hallway, facing the landing that went down into the basement. The door's open, so all you see is just a dart where you can go down into the basement. And then in the basement, there is a camera that's in the far left corner. All right, so if you're imagining the camera angle, so on your far right side, you see the wall that leads to the staircase, and then on your left side, it's a wide-angled lens, and so you see the far edge of the basement, and you see the little like slit window, that's up at top, and you can see like the moon light that comes right in from that window. It drops almost right there.
Yep.
Well, we're watching this on camera, and we were idiot teenagers, and I guess we'd watch Zach Baggins a little bit too much. And so we're like, do something, blah, 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 being stupid. And literally, you see what looks like in that first camera upstairs, you see what looks like a little orb show up. And it's like, oh, it's just dust. And then suddenly it shoots down the staircase.
Oh.
We immediately looked at the camera that was in the basement, and you see the orb go down the stairs and hit the wall. And as soon as it hits the wall, a black mass moves across the wall towards the camera. The camera then moves to the left and then falls over.
Oh my God.
And we're like, we heard it crash downstairs, okay? And we saw it live on the camera. And we knew that nobody was downstairs. So we go downstairs to take a look at it. And so it had been set up on a tripod, and it had like these sandbags that were hanging over the supports.
So
and
that
we're
it wouldn't
talking
fall over.
so it wouldn't fall over. And we tried to push it and bump it and do all these things. And we also tried to do, we figured, okay, well, maybe the shadow was caused by the window, right? Maybe somebody was walking by the window. So we had somebody walk by the window on the outside. Their shadow crossed right where that beam was. It didn't go into the house. And then, we had, it's just a long story. Problem is that when you experience it, I'm pretty sure that stuff happened in the Sally house that has not been talked about.
Probably.
Because it gets to a point where it's like, it becomes unbelievable. Like, how do you explain it? Like, how do you tell people about this stuff? Like, there's, even in the paranormal community, there's only like a point of reason.
Yeah, right.
Like, other than that, we're, whatever. But I digress. I want to continue talking with you a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Because I want to tell you a little bit about the Sally house. But I'm going to still tell you guys my stories about the Sally house, but I want to wait until we actually cover the Sally house. So that's the only reason why we're doing this. Anyway, Dave, it has been great having you on the show.
My pleasure.
Like I said, I have been binge listening to Hometown Ghost Stories basically ever since I found out about you guys.
Great.
So I strongly, strongly recommend you guys check them out, follow them on their socials, tune into the live streams. And they do a lot of traveling. And they go and they actually, it's one thing to talk about these cases. It's another thing to go out and actually do it.
For sure.
So I highly commend you guys for doing that.
Much appreciated. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So until next time, guys, this will be Ryder out. And also stay tuned. There will be a trailer for the next episode. And you guys already know how you can stay connected with me. So I go in it every single time. But follow me on my socials, do whatever, and stay tuned for the next case.
Next time on Crypt Walkers.
They called him the man from the train. Boogeyman who moved across the country, leaving nothing but grief and a gruesome blood-stained scene in his wake. The terrible crime that befell the Moore family in that sleepy Midwest town in 1912 today still remains unsolved. But was it the act of a serial killer or someone much closer to home? I'm digging into the suspects in this case, the botched investigation, and the spirits of the 6 children who are said to still call that house a home. This isn't just a ghost story. It's a 113-year-old crime scene that's still active. The House in Villisca, Part 1. Investigation begins Wednesday, June 3rd, wherever you get your podcasts.
Are you ready to walk amongst the crypts with us? Subscribe now on your favorite podcast platform and never miss an episode. Don't forget to leave a review and share your own paranormal stories with us. We might feature them in an upcoming episode of Crypt Walkers, The Listener Files. Check us out on social media by clicking the link tree in the show notes. If you want to send in your own case or spooky story, email us at contact@cryptwalkers.net.